Some meetings in our existence feel so intense you sense they're far from simple chance. That opening stare, comfortable but strong, appears as if your core has identified theirs from a place past the present. When a compassionate individual crosses paths with a self-absorbed person, it's beyond a mere bond. It's a clash of radiance and gloom, amid a core that perceives intensely and a persona scared of perceiving much. Initially, all seems like a fated romance tune. The compassionate one thinks they've discovered a kindred spirit, a figure dispatched to mend and grow side by side. At the same time, the self-absorbed one assumes they've located an ideal reflector, a spot where their likeness is cherished, echoed, lifted as the focal point of existence. Each is accurate, yet for entirely contrasting causes. Under the pull, fervor, and turmoil rests a core pact, a deal forged ages prior to both entering this incarnation. Within that deal, the compassionate core consented to bear the radiance, whereas the self-absorbed core bore the gloom, so they might echo, rouse, and compel one another to face their most profound internal reality. However, what many overlook is this: as the self-absorbed one violates that pact via disloyalty, quietness, or refusal, it's not merely affection that crumbles. A segment of your core rips wide with it. A cosmos starts to reorganize. Existence alters, and you, the abandoned party, get hurled into an agonizing but holy path. The path Jung termed individuation, the revival of the core via obscurity. Hence, the true inquiry isn't why they departed, but what identity the cosmos is urging you to embrace post their exit. Right from the starting instant, the core of the compassionate and the core of the self-absorbed converge in a hidden area where moments halt and each limit between fate and choice grows hazy. The sensation differs from a regular encounter. It's like two timeless flows of vitality have reconnected following eras of searching. And in this realization, each contact, each glance, each phrase holds the burden of a timeless vow, a pact inked in the domain of the core before either entered the material realm. The compassionate senses as if they've at last returned to base. The self-absorbed assumes they've uncovered a location to dwell eternally in the other's glow. But under the enchanted exterior, a gentle contradiction starts to shape. As radiance and gloom unite, they don't blend. The gloom seeks to own the radiance to evade viewing its own form. On a vital plane, this marks the point where vibrations start to separate. The compassionate's core widens, accepts, offers, while the self-absorbed core shrinks, ingests, seizes. The link isn't solely sentimental or bodily. It's vital. A fusion where core limits dissolve and the self-absorbed starts to consume the compassionate's radiance like a famished entity. During the beginning periods, all appears arranged by the heavenly. Omens match flawlessly. Each instant seems magical. The compassionate thinks this is the individual delivered to them, that this affection is the entrance to arousal. But truly, it's the initial misleading arousal where the core is roused not by affection, but by the mirage of affection. Since the self-absorbed doesn't genuinely perceive your core, they solely perceive their personal echo beaming back from your radiance. A radiance they desire but can't produce inside themselves. Then, as though echoing a timeless ceremony, the vitality inverts. As the radiance ceases to suffice, In filling their internal emptiness, the gloom ascends. Worship turns to dominance. Praise shifts to envy. Intimacy becomes dread. The self-absorbed can't tolerate a radiance so vivid since it reveals an obscurity they've devoted an existence to concealing. So they commence retreating gradually, isolate, without feeling. There's no burst, no definite farewell, merely a vital thread quietly extended until it breaks. The instant a pact fractures doesn't occur externally, it transpires internally. It's a delicate change in the vital area, the separation of two cores that formerly vibrated profoundly. For the compassionate, you experience it like the fracturing of crystal in your torso, noiseless yet resounding forever. There are no phrases, but a fierce tug in your vitality area renders you unsteady, as if a portion of your core has been torn away. This is the point the cosmos observes the disloyalty of the radiance. When a core declines the arousal it was meant for, as the self-absorbed departs, they assume the tale has concluded. But for the compassionate, it's the start of a mystical tremor. Regular bonds affect the core. Core pacts embed in the vital form. When that embed is yanked out, your whole area commences to reshape itself, and the cosmos in its boundless wisdom never permits a holy split without purpose. Each vibration, each pain is an entry unlocking. The initial change is the warping of mystical duration. You sense your existence deviate from its usual course. Duration forfeits straightness. Recollections and foresights blend, heighten packed with emblems, seas, fractured reflectors, vacant spaces, radiance engulfed by dark vortices. These aren't arbitrary visions. They are indicators from the shared subconscious. Jung portrayed declaring that your core is reorganizing. You might sense as if you're existing in dual matching realms. The material realm where they are absent, and the core realm where the link is still untangling. Then arrives sentimental vital disorder. Your sentiments no longer pertain to one instant. They vary amid affection, fury, blame, and detachment. Occasionally the sorrow you experience isn't even your own, since pieces of their core still adhere to your vital area, reluctant to release a tie they deliberately dismissed. On a more profound plane, you are detecting their core, opposing the teaching the cosmos is compelling them to confront. They can flee from you, but they can't flee from their own being. And you, formerly their reflector, turn into the quiet observer to their inward downfall. In this period, the cosmos halts all. Schemes evaporate. Bonds seem wrong. Chances come at improper moments. This isn't penalty, it's safeguard. Your core is being recoupled like a dwelling taken apart prior to reconstruction. If you sense misplaced, it's because the former guide no longer fits. You are being welcomed into a fresh tier of awareness where all must be perceived by the core, not the intellect. Jung formerly stated that when an individual attains the boundary of what the aware intellect can bear, the subconscious intervenes to complete the task. And that is precisely what is occurring inside you. The subconscious doesn't ruin, it alters. Each discomfort, when viewed with attention, discloses its personal note. In those extended evenings, when you sense like you're disintegrating, your core is really discarding an aged layer. The layer of somebody who existed to satisfy, who confused sympathy for self-loss. The fracturing of the core pact also unlocks the occurrence of inverted coincidence. indicators that appear to originate from the cosmos, but are actually the leftovers of your former vital arrangement. You observe known figures, aged emblems, or listen to tunes linked with them, not because the cosmos desires you to come back, but because the pact's vitality is vanishing and dispatching its ultimate farewell indicators. Do not construe them sentimentally, grasp them deliberately. The cosmos is emptying room for the following segment of your core. Across this procedure, your core area will shrink to preserve vitality and then gradually widen once more. You might sense separated, detached from all, incapable to discover significance in items you formerly adored. This is a nigredo period discussed by alchemists and Jung. The dark period of the core, where all aged is incinerated to ready for revival. There is no bypass, no wonder. Solely the bravery to rest calmly in the gloom and believe that the radiance is shaping from inside. And then someday you will comprehend something amazing. They didn't genuinely violate the pact. They merely fulfilled their function, because their core, even as their aware intellect refused it, was still an instrument the cosmos employed to instruct you regarding power, independence, and caring without forfeiting yourself. When you comprehend this, your vitality changes. Rather than questioning, why did they act this way? You commence to question, what aspect of me is this teaching liberating? And in that instant, the pact genuinely finishes, not via their comeback, but via your revival. Once your core completely embraces the split, another occurrence emerges. Your vitality area and the cosmos start to align anew. Fresh individuals come, fresh chances appear, and alignments that bear mending commence to appear. No more are these coincidences formed by their gloom, but by your fresh root. This is when you grasp that their exit did not remove affection. It merely restored affection to where it pertains, within you. For when the aged pact vanishes, it is not affection that vanishes. It is the mirage of affection that diminishes. And in the remains of that mirage, your core commences to shine. This time not to brighten another, but to illuminate your personal road. In the silent evenings, the compassionate still detects an existence, a known core traversing, an unnamed feeling, a chilly flow crossing the breast. They do not summon, yet you perceive them. They do not contact, yet you sense them. This link does not reside in the intellect, but in the vital area where the two cores formerly vibrated at the peak rate, even if their aware intellect refuses it. The most profound segment of their core still emits indicators like a dim wail from the glooms. And since compassionates are created with delicate insight, they perceive the unexpressed. They sense the terrors that were never articulated. This is the most perplexing period because it causes the compassionate to think the cosmos is summoning them back. In actuality, it is not an indicator to rejoin, but a vitality flow attempting to discover liberation. When a core violates a pact, portion of their vitality stays trapped in you because solely you, with your elevated rate of consciousness, can finish the liberation. This is why, following their departure, you still envision about them, still sense when they're mournful, remorseful, or attempting to overlook you, because their core does not genuinely overlook solely their persona feigns to. Carl Jung formerly penned, What is suppressed in the subconscious reappears as destiny, and indeed the gloom they refuse commences to emerge in your actuality. You sense their vitality manifest in visions, in melodies, and the transitory visage of an unknown person. Not to anguish you, but to assist you observe their inward breakdown. By refusing the link, they are also refusing a segment of their personal core. And each time they do, you sense a delicate pain, because your two cores are still in the identical learning space of teachings. This occurrence is termed ghostly insight. Insight of core remains. It is an indicator that the aged vitality has not been entirely cleansed. You are not insane, not credulous, and you are not summoning them back. You are merely detecting the leftovers of a pact that hasn't finished yet. When they oppose arousal, the leftover vitality rebounds in the gap between you, and you are the initial to notice the oscillations. It feels like perceiving an aged melody performing dimly from distant, known eerie, and constricting the core. Without grasping this occurrence, the compassionate readily tumbles into the fate cycle, thinking they must mend them or restore them to the radiance. But that is exactly what extends the pact endlessly. The cosmos does not desire you to rescue them. The cosmos desires you to liberate them. Solely when both cores are liberated from the aged thread, can the teaching genuinely be finished. On the more profound mystical level, this procedure reveals like a ceremony of vital cleansing. Each time you recall, pain or weep, you are liberating stuck vitality. Each vision in which you view them is not an indicator of rejoining, but the ultimate release of vitality between two cores that formerly formed agreement. Occasionally their core, even as their persona is fleeing, will still appear to you in visions as a type of adieu. You might view them positioned in a faint glow, quietly gazing at you, not to draw you back, but to recognize that their function has been finished. This is the period where the compassionate must master to remain motionless amid surges of vitality. No fleeing, no summoning, no anticipating, no dreading, solely observing. When you watch without responding, you retract the ultimate provision of vitality that maintains the thread active. And that is when it vanishes by itself, because a vital thread cannot be severed by animosity. It can solely vanish via consciousness. Someday you will observe something wondrous. You can no longer sense them, not because they have disappeared, but because your vitality has ascended past the rate where they reside. At that instant, the gloom of the one who departed is no longer an eerie. It turns an emblem, a proof to the power of a core that understands how to liberate, how to care without owning, how to depart while still maintaining sympathy. And in that instant, the ultimate core pact fades away. Not via vows or conclusions, but via the total freedom of both cores. As the vital thread slowly vanishes, as you commence to sense less heavy and more tranquil, on the opposite side in the self, absorb its realm. A totally contrasting procedure is revealing where you are being liberated. They commence to tumble into the exact abyss they formerly excavated for others. Because when a core pact is violated, you are not the sole one who endures. The one who violates it is the one who carries the most profound results. Jung formerly stated, no one avoids the obscurity of their personal mind. It simply awaits for the instant to reappear and engulf us. And that is precisely what occurs to the self. Absorbed following, they forsake the compassionate. They think they've fled, that they've triumphed, that their quietness, disloyalty, or downgrading is a show of strength. But in the domain of vitality, the cosmos does not function via phrases. It functions via rate. When they opt to betray authentic affection, they cut the soul connection linking them to an essential origin of mental vitality, the echo of radiance. Initially, they seem composed, even victorious. You might observe them chuckle, care for somebody fresh, display their joy as if the history never was. But this is simply the persona's flight period. They must demonstrate to the globe that they are not feeble, not incorrect, not injured. In mystical mindset, this is termed a period of synthetic vital offset, where the core declines to recognize the injury and instead casts its void outward as show. But no core can trick the cosmos. Equilibrium is always reinstated. And when the outer clamor subsides, they commence to confront the actual results. The initial result is the downfall of the echoing persona. When you, the compassionate, retract your vitality, they do not merely forfeit an individual. They forfeit the soul reflector that made them sense authentic. For the self-absorber's whole persona is constructed from the echo of others. When nobody beams radiance on them any longer, their persona commences to fracture. Initially arrives unease, then void, and ultimately a deep terror. They will attempt to substitute you rapidly, not from affection, but from urgency for a fresh provision, to evade viewing the emptiness inside. But nobody can echo them the manner you formerly did. And so each fresh provision seems dull, synthetic, inadequate to calm the rising internal alarm. Jung termed this occurrence mental breakdown. When the self-control falls due to the forfeiture of an outer support, they commence forfeiting command. Sleeplessness, unrest, annoyance, mistrust, and a slow drop into a vortex of quiet self-penalty. For instance, their persona will never confess the discomfort, but the core recalls. In instance of quietness, inebriation, or delayed evenings, a profound segment of them commences to perceive the resonance of the aged pact, the resonance of your core, not summoning them back, but reminding them that they dismissed the salvation the cosmos provided. And then arrives the period of fixation. When they observe that you have not disintegrated, that you are still upright, even beaming more vividly, it hits their most profound injury, the terror of being substituted. For a self-absorbed, self-value does not originate from affection, but from dominance. When you turn composed, still unresponsive, you remove all the fuel that nourishes their persona. They will try to come back not from regret, but to recapture strength. They might return with regrets, yearning, or ambiguous emblematic actions. But truly, it is solely the gloom examining whether your radiance still twinkles. If you have genuinely roused, you will view it plainly. Each try they make to come back is an examination from the cosmos to view whether you have conquered the teaching. If you stay serene, their vitality can no longer infiltrate you. And when that transpires, they are compelled to confront themselves, with nobody remaining to accuse, nobody remaining to echo them, nobody remaining to nourish them. They tumble into the emptiness they dread most, the void of an unroused core. At the most profound plane, this is fate echoing the mystical rule Jung portrayed. Each core will be compelled to view itself via the responses of others. When you cease responding, the reflector vanishes and the gloom must reappear to its origin. The self-absorbed is no longer facing you, but facing their personal persona, the domain where embarrassment, terror, and isolation dwell. All they formerly did to you, control, quietness, disloyalty, refusal now reappears from inside. With nobody remaining to control, their intellect commences controlling itself. They create situations, relive aged talks, distort recollections to persuade themselves they were correct. But the core cannot be deceived eternally. Slowly, reality leaks into the fractures of their awareness, and they commence to perceive the tone they formerly muted, the tone of moral sense. This is the self-absorbed's quiet downfall. Nobody views it, nobody recognizes it, but within their realm is disintegrating. Each mirage of strength, each disguise, each role they form to evade perceiving, all of it commences to fall apart. And the cruelest segment is they can neither come back nor advance. Because comeback signifies confessing error, and advancing signifies altering. Both are horrors to their persona. They commence to sense something they themselves cannot label. The slow breakdown of the core. All that formerly made them sense vibrant now turns simple show. They ingest sentiments, contact other individuals, utter lovely phrases, yet no longer sense an authentic pulse behind any of it. Their vitality falters because self-absorbed do not understand how to produce radiance from inside. They endure solely by ingesting vitality from others. When you, their ultimate origin of authentic echo, vanish, they turn like an entity robbed of air. At this period, penalty does not originate from the exterior, but from inside. They commence to perceive tiny tones, recollections they formerly interred. The expression in your gaze when you were let down, the phrases you uttered before you departed, the sensation of being cared for that they attempted so firmly to refuse. Each recollection is like an edge slicing via the strata of their disguise. Initially, they become furious. Then, they refuse it. But slowly your quietness turns the most resounding resonance within their intellect and attempt to flee into a fresh realm. Pursuing other origins of provision, hastening into rapid affections, pursuing transient joys. But nothing is profound sufficient to fill the emptiness your core formerly filled. Because deep within they recognize you were the sole one who genuinely viewed them. Not their likeness, but the segment of themselves they maintained concealed. That frightened them, but it also hooked them. And when they forfeit that glance, they sense unseen to the whole globe. Then arrives the instant when vitality inverts. All they formerly planted, trickery, control, disdain commences to echo back in their actuality. Associates become doubtful. Companions separate themselves. A fresh companion turns away. Mysteries become revealed. This is vital fate echoing. Not penalty from the cosmos, but the innate result of warped vitality. All they formerly dominated via synthetic strength ceases functioning. And the most frightening segment, nobody trusts them any longer. When there is no crowd remaining, the show falls apart. They glance around and comprehend that everybody was simply a warped reflector of themselves. And now all those reflectors have fractured. in an uncommon instant of clearness, they view again the radiance of the one they disloyaled. But this time that radiance is no longer exterior. It beams from inside recollection, from a location they can no longer attain. They comprehend that what they forfeited was not merely an individual, but their sole opportunity at salvation. Some self-absorbed persist, refusing until the very conclusion, echoing the cycle of control and portraying the sufferer in fresh tales. But a very minor number, solely a handful, when driven to the utmost brink of isolation, commence to perceive the summons of their personal core. It is the instant when the disguise can no longer conceal them, when embarrassment dissolves into authentic drops, when the haughty persona is compelled to bow before the void it formed. Nonetheless, not all attain that point. Most self-absorbed opt to continue fleeing because confronting their core is what they dread most. They do not grasp that with merely one instant of authentic modesty, one moment of recognizing the affection that formerly was, they could be liberated. But they cannot, because the core pact has been violated and the teaching is no longer yours. It turns a conflict between them and their personal gloom. While they vortex via a maze of blame, you stroll via the entrance of mystical liberty. Not because you triumphed, but because you finished the pact. Your teaching is to pardon without comeback, to care without attaching, and to grasp that occasionally the grandest deed of rescue is permitting them to confront the results of their personal deeds. In the conclusion, each core pact guides to the identical goal, arousal. Some cores rouse via radiance, and some can solely rouse via enduring. When the self-absorbed violates the pact, they are not genuinely disloyal to you. They are dismissing the radiance the cosmos dispatched to them via you, and from that instant your roots split, each advancing into a totally distinct path. You ascend, thus you don't require vengeance. You don't require to demonstrate anything, and you don't require to await for their arousal, because your core has finished its segment. You cared honestly, you offered truthfully, and you stayed sympathetic even when resentment would have been warranted. This is what renders you invulnerable. The affection you provided is not forfeited. It merely alters shape, reappearing to you as power, insight, and tranquility. On a more profound plane, the cosmos utilizes that very split to revive you. Each drop turns a directing radiance. Each injury that formerly shattered you turns a holy symbol of somebody who strolled via obscurity without forfeiting their radiance. Jung termed this individuation the merger of persona and core, the blending of the mortal self with the heavenly core inside. As for the self-absorbed, regardless how distant they flee, they will ultimately confront themselves, because no core avoids the rule of echo. Someday, when they position before the reflector and no longer identify who they are, they will recall your glance, the glance that never critiqued, solely echoed reality, and maybe in that instant, the aged pact will ultimately shut entirely, and you, the one who endured all, will grasp that affection is not a tie of forms or sentiments, but the core's path back to itself. You did not forfeit anyone. You merely discovered your most genuine self. The individual the cosmos always planned you to turn. And as you advance with the core roused, all aged pacts vanish like dawn fog, leaving solely the liberated radiance of a core that has mastered the holy skill of caring, liberating, and turning the very radiance it formerly sought. But what if the pain lingers longer than expected? True love returns to its source within you. Imagine the self absorb its hidden turmoil unfolding. Could this be the cosmos's way of protecting you? Release the cord through pure awareness alone. And when the illusions finally crumble, why do dreams still carry their shadow? Is the universe testing your newfound strength? What happens when the mirror shatters completely? But can they ever truly escape their fate? How does your rebirth begin in earnest? What lessons emerge from the deepest voids? And if they attempt a return, why does silence become their loudest enemy? Could this be the ultimate karmic balance? What if awakening comes through suffering alone? How does your light grow unbreakable? But what remains after all contracts dissolve? Is true freedom found in release? Why must some souls learn the hard way? And in the end, who truly wins? If this journey spoke to your soul, please like this video and subscribe to Wake and Win for more insights on spiritual growth and healing.